Phil had this great idea to tell the parable of the prodigal son as a parody of the Wizard of Oz.
Something Phil is really good at is finding a carrier, a world or a context that can carry a really important story so kids can get it.
What I set out to do wasn't to tell the story of the Wizard of Oz, but was actually tell the story of the prodigal son. And that's where it started, which is, probably one of the 2 or 3 most powerful stories in the Bible. But we hadn't told it for kids because, number one, it's not all that fun for a kid, and number 2, it's really, really short. And that's when it occurred to me that the structure for the parable of the prodigal son was almost identical to the structure of Frank L. Baum's classic, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
The whimsical Wizard of Oz! There it is! The Land of Oz.
Funnest place on earth.
It'd be really easy to get lost in the Wizard of Oz because it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of places to visit. But we are telling the story of the prodigal son. We are telling the story that is Darby's story about going away and then coming back home.
My favorite part of the film is the ending. The shots where Dad sees Darby approaching and the look on his face, and then as Darby's walking up the street, we see Dad just running towards him with this reckless abandon. I think it's really meaningful and really special to see the way that the father reacts and to think that that's the same way that God looks at us when we come back to him.
My son. Don't just stand there. Get a cake. Get ice cream. Go rent one of those big bouncy castles. We're gonna have a party.
All right. Oh, yeah, get away.
So in the original Wizard of Oz, it was set in the real world, Dust Bowl era, sepia tone, black and white, And so in ours, it's a VeggieTales version of that same kind of thing. And instead, in CG and in brightly colored CG, bleaching it out to black and white is not going to be very entertaining. We kind of made it somewhere in between.
To me, the importance of the floss and the bathroom tissue and all that, I think it just sets our world up to be one of farce and silliness and real fantasy.
You got to make sure the floss is right before picking it, or it's just real bitter.
I worked some elements like that, kind of bizarre fantasy elements, even into the real world, for no philosophical reason, mostly just because I thought it was funny.
Storm! What is it, boy? Tornado?
Growing up in Colorado, there's not many tornadoes. Then I moved to Oklahoma. Tornadoes are really frightening. Very, very scary.
I had to hide in my grandparents' basement once when a tornado came through Muscatine, Iowa.
What was important to me and to our art director, Joe Spatterford, is that the tornado felt really cartoony.
When we've got this twister coming, we needed some intense music, but at the same time, we don't want to get too intense, and we want to keep some of that Hollywood magic to it. So it's got some of the old-fashioned string runs, just those sorts of things that help to convey the seriousness of this, but at the same time, it's not so overly dramatic.
Every song in the show is fantastic. The Ha 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 song in the park is absolutely my favorite.
We kept writing that, and as we would get to the end, the director would keep saying, "Oh, let's make it a little faster. Let's get it even faster at the end," to the point that we could barely sing it in laying down the tracks to record to. It was like, whoa, that's just about impossible.
Again!
Phil came in with the script. He had some real clear ideas for some of the songs, and some of them sounded like Wizard of Oz songs, some of them didn't, and we were trying to find that mix of, okay, we want to make it be a parody of Wizard of Oz, but we want to tell our own story also.
Look, there he goes! Follow Yellow McToad, happily hopping his way down the road. Follow Yellow McToad, down to the Land of Oz.
And in case you didn't get that, it's Yellow McToad, which happens to rhyme with Yellow Brick Road, but totally different thing.
Mike said, well, we can't just follow Yellow Brick Road, we need to do something silly there, and so he kind of figured out what sounded like Yellow Brick Road and ended up with Yellow McToad. And then our concept artist, Chuck Vollmer, got a hold of the character and turned him into the kilt-wearing Scottish old toad that we see today.
In the old film, Wizard of Oz, those people went through some terrible times, the makeup they would react to in their face, but Lunt, Larry, and Pa had it pretty easy.
Pa Grape had to come in like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 days before he was supposed to shoot, to get flocked.
Lunt actually enjoyed the burlap. He thought it was a good look for him.
And what about you, sir?
Well, I just want to do whatever I want.
It was great for me as a director to get to work with Lisa. She brings an incredible sweetness and genuineness to Darby, or to Junior, whenever she performs him. For example, when Darby says in Wizard of Oz, "What seems to be the problem?" That line could be delivered kind of in a really flat way, but as she was in the booth, it made me think about way back on Are You My Neighbor, when Junior gets to the spaceship and he says, "What seems to be the problem?"
What seems to be the problem?
The problem, as you can see.
I'm just thrilled with what his character is like. You know, he's got this charm, and he's really, you really root for him. Even all the while he's kind of being a little bit whiny and, kind of going off and really being a kind of the bad character. He's doing some really bad things. And ultimately, what Lisa brought to it is this real charm, that you just go with him. You're like, "Oh, buddy, don't do that,"
Hurry up, boy. Tarnation, Tutu. You must be the slowest dog in Kansas.
Is Tutu a dog or is he a pig?
It's one of those big, life questions.
Does the dog appear as a pig to us, or does the pig behave as a dog for the people in the story?
We're going to let you decide that. Kids, you choose. Pig, dog, it's either way.
So during the production of Wizard of Oz, Mike Naraki has been away directing The Pirates That Don't Do Anything, the VeggieTales movie, and yet we found ourselves in need of a silly song. Meanwhile, our producer Chris Wall had been given a children's CD called Slugs and Bugs and Lullabies by a couple of Christian recording artists here in Nashville, Andrew Peterson and Randall Goodgame.
I said, "Brian, these guys are really funny. We should think about maybe see if we could call them up and do some silly songs." And so they came in with 2 songs and played one of them, and it was Monkey. I thought the song was really cute, and I was following along. And then there's this turn in the song, because at first you think Bob doesn't get it, and then you realize that Larry's the one that's off. We laughed hard.
And we said, that's it, that's the new silly song.
Really, it's semi-revolutionary. I think we're putting some new ideas into kids' minds for ways to classify life.
If there's a tail, it's a monkey. No tail, ape. It's easy.
And that simplifies life so much, and that's what people are looking for today, a simplicity to life that we lost, I think, in the 60s. But now we have it back.
Larry, this is a disaster.
It's a monkey.
We realized that you can't really do a parody of The Wizard of Oz or a tribute to The Wizard of Oz, which is really what I think this show kind of ends up being, without having Over the Rainbow.
So the producer of the film calls me up and says, we're going to use Somewhere Over the Rainbow under the closing credits.
We felt like, man, it'd be really great to get that song in there. It's a really fun song.
I think it'd be funny if we do it just the way it is and just have Mr. Lunt sing it. Because nobody can do Judy Garland like Mr. Lunt.
Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue.
Skies are blue.
The dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. He's right.
I think he's got a shot at stardom with that tune. I think it'll become his. If you can get past the cracked notes and the mistakes and the straining.
Tell my mom I'll be right here.
It'd be easy in this story to get stuck in telling this really important story and lose the fact that we need to be having fun the whole time we're doing it.
I think when VeggieTales is at its best, we speak to the whole family, and I believe that this show really does that.
And I hope that families are able to use this story as a way to teach a lesson in their own home and have fun along the journey.